We had a question here from Kurt a little bit earlier, and we're going to pivot. This is what the Matt's rule is. It's different from the Redcast, where we're not just going right down a list of this is the topic, this is the topic. We'll flow around a little bit. And we were playing on at some point talking about this Dylan Raiola kid. Sure. You've heard of him. You brought him up at the beginning.
Yes.
Kurt Payne said, could Dylan decide to come here next year if Georgia isn't what he expected?
Sure.
Absolutely. I mean, he'd be the 15,000 example of somebody going into the portal. And I think, Dave Fight, who we've had on before with, it's one of the fan forums. He wrote an article in SI today that was really good and posted it. That it was basically about, don't burn bridges. And especially in this world right now of the portal. And he's even talking to us as fans. Don't burn bridges with players on Twitter. There's no reason going out there today and wishing Raiola anything but the best of luck there. And I mean, honestly, I hope he has a great career there. And if he doesn't, then I think, he wouldn't be the first quarterback to transfer. And we want to be in good position to get there. There's 5 quarterbacks right now at Georgia that I think it was 2 of them are 5 stars and 3 of them are 4 stars. Mm-hmm. So if you think that unless they can find a way to have a 5 QB system and keep everyone happy,
right,
the likelihood of them keeping all those guys, or the likelihood of Dylan being a longtime starter there. I mean, they've had other 5-star QBs that couldn't beat out a walk-on.
For sure.
There.
Well, there's exactly. And one of the most talented teams in the nation. So a couple things on Dylan. One, absolutely zero ill will towards that kid and his family. I said this before, but he absolutely gave us a fair shake in his recruiting process. And I think he actually did us a solid by bringing attention to Rule and his new staff and getting some. And like, if we get that number 1 tackle, to me that's a direct result of having Dylan come in and bringing that kind of talent in. Yeah. So absolutely 100% wish him the best. Could he come back? I don't know how you keep quarterbacks in this day and age. I don't know how you're going to keep elite quarterbacks in this day and age happy sitting on a bench with the transfer portal the way it is. And that's fine. I mean, quarterback is that one position. That's the one.
Yeah.
And like even Rule said that. It's like you can only play one realistically. I know you can have packages and stuff, but realistically only one plays. So if you want an opportunity to play, then you got to test the market. I still am kind of fascinated on – I don't think – it's so early in Rule's career. I know he wants to build through high school, and I think that's smart. But I think when you're talking about that position, I think that's always going to be a very fluid kind of where it's portal or a hotshot freshman. But how do you keep a hotshot freshman if you've got any kind of experience coming back? And I don't want to build a team that's constantly counting on freshman quarterbacks to come in and stay and keep them happy to play. So, and then Georgia's going to have that. Georgia's had that problem. I mean, Alabama's had that problem. And now with the transfer portal open, it's wide open. So absolutely he could come here. Absolutely. Maybe somebody else comes here. I don't think our quarterback room is going to look the same going into next year.
Well, and this is something I think for us to be, we are going to be consistent on this. And we've been asked this a number of times. We were asked this when we were on the No Block, No Rock podcast about a month ago. Were we prepared for Raiola not to come here? We were like, absolutely. We were absolutely prepared. We also, I mean, the next question usually was, well, what's your thoughts on it? And I was like, not really a lot. I know one thing for certain about Dylan. He wasn't going to win us a game this year.
Zero.
And right now it's really important for us to get off to a good start here in 2023. Mm-hmm. And things can start to change next year with recruiting when you start to have some success to show it off of. Yep. I mean, right now we're talking a lot about beating Iowa last year to finish the season. And it was a great way to finish the year. But how about talking about bowl games? How about talking about 8 wins or 9 wins or whatever we can do? We're not setting ceilings again, right? So what about talking about, something a little more impressive than that and some more recency and something that Rule can talk to success that he's done while he was here in year 1. That's the stuff that I think it can change as we look forward to next year. And there's going to be another quarterback. There always will be.
Every year they have a number 1 quarterback.
One other thing that we have brought up in the past, and I think it is fair, especially, look, I would we take Dylan Raiola? Of course we would, for all the obvious reasons.
Yep, in a hot second.
At the same time, the style of play that clearly Rule's going after, and he's talked about the speed of his quarterbacks, and he's not just talking about Sims. He's mentioned Purdy and Harburg, what they bring from a speed standpoint. I will say that Raiola's a little different QB from that. So, I think at least from the style that he's trying to go to, again, let's focus on 2023 in this year. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with this offense And it'll be interesting to see, is that the kind of offense that, fits, someone else?
He was unique in that respect too, because you had to recruit him. Like you absolutely had to recruit him. He was a legacy. He's the number one quarterback in the nation. You kind of had a shot with him. You had to recruit him. You had to recruit him as hard as you could. But the fit, I mean, we're speculating a little bit on what the quarterback position is going to look like next year, but we're speculating based on what the head coach is telling us he wants it to be, right? Well, so by the end of next year, we'll know probably. Well, we won't know it unless Dylan plays a significant amount in Georgia. We'll kind of know what that quarterback position looks like on the field, like how much we run them, how much we throw them, how many hits are they taking? Frankly, Georgia's offense probably fits what I think of Dylan's skill set better. So and why wouldn't you pick where you fit better? I mean, you get it's like we were talking about. Only one quarterback plays. You want to go to a place where you have the most chance of success. So 100%. Now maybe he gets on the field next year and he shows more mobility, or maybe we play next year and we don't run the quarterback quite as much as we thought. And it becomes more of a fit then. Everything can change, but the loss of him, it's just hard to really articulate how I feel about it. I wasn't shocked. It would have been super cool if we got him. It's almost more about the clout, though. For me, it was more about we landed a legacy, we landed a 5-star, we landed the number one guy. That just sends off like alarm bells for the rest of the nation.
His uncle's on the staff for Christ. Right. I get all the unique things about it. I just I don't know. So here, like Kurt's asking, agreed, wish him the best. Now what's next? Where do we go from here? I've heard that we're recruiting, or I haven't heard what we're recruiting for QB next year. I know there's a Sanders kid that was out there that he tweeted some stuff out today, and we've got an offer out to him 2025. In 2024, there's a couple of guys, one of them being Kalen from Bellevue, who is committed to Mizzou. Would we go back after him? And On3 had another couple names of guys that we'd be looking at. But, it's so hard for me with recruiting is to try to put these guys to muscle memory until they're even committed, until they're here. There's going to be a guy we're going to go after. And the thing that the portal changes everything is that if we don't get a high school kid, does that ruin everything? Or are we able to go into the portal and pick up some depth, in different ways now? The talent acquisition is so different today.
It's so different
versus 5 years ago.
You almost like with the transfer portal, it's almost like you've got to plant seeds with so many guys so that when the time comes and they're not happy in the situation they chose coming out of high school, that you're in the running. Like you have a relationship with them, you can bring them back.
A year ago, that was Flores from Gretna, who hasn't even really stepped on foot at Oklahoma State yet. Yeah. But you don't burn bridges, to Dave Fight's point in that article. You don't burn bridges because a year from now, if Flores isn't working out at Oklahoma State, we want to be in position to get him then. If we can't get Raiola now and it doesn't work out there, we want to get him then. Yep. And think about like at Texas right now, where they have Quentin, they have Ewers, and then they have Manning, Arch Manning. Yeah. Well, Ewers goes to Ohio State, makes $1 million in NIL, and then transfers without ever playing to come back to Texas. Mm-hmm. And now he's got a couple more seasons in front of him. They get Arch Manning. Is Arch Manning just going to sit around and twiddle his thumbs for a couple years? I mean,
I was going to lay odds on it. What do you analytics people think? I don't. It doesn't sound good to me. Like what? It'd be interesting in 5 years from now, if someone goes back and does a study on your top 5 quarterback prospects, how many of them are still with the team they signed with out of high school? I bet the number's low. Oh
man, that's a tough one there.
Yeah, I bet the number's real low.
PJ says keep the QBs in the pocket. Might be on the wrong podcast, PJ, for us here. I mean, look, I'm fine with pocket passing. I mean, that's part of the game. But the concept of the quarterback and his legs are something that I think can be a differentiator for Nebraska.
Needs to be.
Yeah, it needs to be. We're at our best when we've got QBs that can hurt you dual threat wise.
Caveat though, the running game needs to be the running backs.
The running backs.
To me though, keep the quarterbacks upright, and let them run a little bit. I don't want ever to be back into that Adrian Martinez kind of like he's the show kind of deal. And I don't think that's how this is going to go.
Boy, I'm an option guy. And when you go back to, I think maybe the best moment of the Frost era offensively would have been that Northwestern game in 21. Mm-hmm. And Martinez, I think he ran it 7 or 9 times, one of the two. It was less than 10. And you think of all the options we ran that
Mhm.
game, and running backs up the middle, pitches to receivers. There's some deep balls. They did some pocket stuff too, which is made easier by moving the pocket on other plays. And that's a great offense. And it's an offense where, he was very upright, as opposed to other times where he's the lead runner, and he's taking 25 carries a game. Nobody wants that. So PJ, like I said, I'm cool with keeping him in the pocket, but also, we don't want the QB to be a 25 carry a guy.
Not at all
either. That's not.
But you brought this point up in the past, and it's a great point. The times, Casey Thompson, for example, the times he got lit up was in the pocket.
Yes.
You're like the pocket sounds good, but if when you're running the ball, you expect to get hit. You're ready for the hit. You're ready for the contact. When you're in the pocket, your focus, all your focus ideally is downfield, looking to get the ball and push it downfield. That's when you get smoked, and that's when guys go off the field limping and stuff. So, I mean, I understand the concept, keep him in the pocket, keep him protected, but it's not nowhere safe on the football field.
Sure. And that takes me, I mean, this goes way back to Osborne, Solich era kind of football, but I can remember the 99, gosh, I don't know why this popped in my head, the 99 Big 12 championship game, the one where we beat Texas.
Okay.
And at one point in that game, they had a stat come up about how many times Eric Crouch had been hit so far versus how many times Major Applewhite had been hit. And I was like, of all this, like, who really gave a shit?
That's a stupid
stat.
Like
that stat couldn't be less apples to apples.
Apple whites to
apple whites to orange whites, right? What I mean, like, it was so dumb, because when you're running option, number one, you're taking different kinds of hits. You're preparing for it. You are the runner. A lot of times you're getting hit by an outside linebacker or corner,
and
you're
moving too, so you have your momentum.
You're moving with them,
standing there.
And when you get hit in the pocket and you're Applewhite and you get hit from the backside, you're taking the most wicked hits, and you're taking them from 270-pound D linemen. I mean, it's just it's not the same thing. So that's another example of where, you can keep the analytic. How many times have you been hit? But the hits are different.
Yeah. And
every time, to your point, when Thompson a year ago would get hurt, a lot of times it was sitting in the pocket. When Martinez would get hurt back in the day, it's when he broke the pocket and ad-libbed on things and was running on his own. And now you're kind of not intentional, not designed. And he was either going to break a defense doing that. He made unbelievable plays that way, but those are some of the times he took some of the biggest hits too.
He was so good. Adrian, I feel like he was, I don't know. I have a soft spot in my heart for Adrian. I really do. I thought he was such a special runner. It's too bad we couldn't. I just don't feel like we ever maximized that kid. That could be said for a number of players. I guess now that I think about it, that could be said for myself, really. I really haven't maximized.
Have you maximized yourself?
Well, not yet.